Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanodari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanodari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanodari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanodari Sodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanodari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Vishapad Pranamahamsa Prabhupada Asatya Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Gaura Vaishnavanda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Prem Sikho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gogopya Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shivan Ravandam Ki Jai, Shri Maya Parnavidam Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Ki Jai, Jamuna Maya Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Go Premanandi, all glorious some devotees, all glorious some devotees, all glorious some devotees, all glorious Shishi Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, text number 11, right? Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Nibodha Tatedam Ritang Bravimi Masuyitam Devam Arhasi Brahmā Sarve Vivasa Yasya Dishtam Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Nibodha Tatedam Ritam Bravimi Masuyitam Divam Arpis Yapremayam Svāyambhuvaste tata esha Mahārṣi Brahmā sarve vivasayasya distam Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Nibodha Tatedam Ritam Bravimi Masuyitum Devam Arhasya Premayam Svāyambhuvaste tata esha Mahārṣi Brahmā sarve vivasayasya distam Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Nibodha Tatedam Ritam Bravimi Masuyitum Devam Arhasya Premiyam Svāyambhuvasteta Ta Esha Mahārṣi Brahmā sarve vivasayasya distam Oh. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Nibodha Tatedam Ritam Bhavimi Masuyitam Devam Arhasya Premyam Svāyambhuvasteta Esha Mahārṣi Brahmā sarve vivasayasya Nibodha Tatedam Ritam Bhavimi Masuyitam Devam Arhasya Premiyam Svāyambhuvaste tata esha Mahārṣi Brahmā sarve vivasayasya Shri Bhagavanu Vacha, the Supreme Person, Lord Brahma said, Nibodha, kindly hear with attention. Tata, my dear son. Idam, this. Ritam, true. Bravimi, I am speaking. Ma, not. Asuyatim, asuyatam, to be jealous of, devam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Arhasi, you ought. Aprameyam, who is beyond our experimental knowledge. Vayam, we. Bhava, Lord Śiva. Te, your. Tata, Father. Esha, this. Mahārṣi Nārada. Vahama, carry out. Sarve, all. Vivasa, unable to deviate. Yasya, of whom. Distam, the order. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki. Lord Brahma, the Supreme Person within this universe, said, My dear Priyavrata, kindly hear attentively what I shall say to you. Do not be jealous of the Supreme Lord who is beyond our experimental measurements. All of us, including Lord Śiva, your father, and the great sage Mahārṣi Nārada, must carry out the order of the Supreme. We cannot deviate from His order. Purport. Of the 12 great authorities in devotional service, 4, Lord Brahma himself, his son Narada, Svāyambhuva Manu, and Lord Śiva were present before Priyavrata. Pressure's on. They were accompanied by many other authoritative sages. Brahma first wanted to impress upon Priyavrata that although these great personalities are all authorities, they cannot possibly disobey the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is described in this verse as Deva, which means always glorious. The power, glory, and potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can never be diminished. In the Ishopanishad, the Lord is described as Apapa Vidha, which indicates that He is never affected by anything materially considered sinful. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam describes the Supreme Personality of God as being so powerful that nothing we might consider abominable can affect Him. An example sometimes given to explain the position of the Supreme Lord is that of the sun, which evaporates urine from the earth but is never affected by contamination. The Supreme Lord can never be accused of doing anything wrong. When Lord Brahma went to induce Priyavrata to accept the responsibility for ruling the universe, he did not go whimsically. He was following the dictations of the Supreme Lord. Indeed, Brahma and other genuine authorities never do anything without his permission. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. The Lord dictated Vedic knowledge to Brahma through his heart. The more a living entity is purified by devotional service, the more he comes in contact directly with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Tesam saradyuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenam yantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Lord Brahma, therefore, had not come to Priyavrata by his own whims. Rather, it is understood that he had been ordered to persuade Priyavrata by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose activities cannot be understood by material senses, and who is therefore described herein as aprameya. Thus Lord Brahma first advised Priyavrata to hear his words with attention and without envy. Why one is induced to perform certain acts despite his desire to do so, why one is induced to perform certain acts despite his desire to do something else is indicated herein. One cannot disobey the orders of the Supreme Lord, even if one is as powerful as Lord Śiva, Lord Brahma, Manu, or the great sage Narada. All these authorities are certainly very powerful, but they do not have the power to disobey the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since Lord Brahma had come to Priyavrata in accordance with the order of the Supreme Lord, he first wanted to dispel any suspicions that he might be acting as Priyavrata's enemy. Lord Brahma was following the orders of the Supreme Lord, and therefore it would be worthwhile for Priyavrata to accept Lord Brahma's order as the Lord desired. Om Jnanatamandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Malitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukram Grotu Vachalam Pangun Manghayate Grim Yat Kripa Tadaham Bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Vanchakalpatubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudhi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. In the Vaishnava culture, it's imperative that the son follow the order of the father. In the Bhagavad Gita, it's said that the austerity of the body is to offer respects, Deva Dvija, Guru Pragya, to God, to the Brahmanas, to Deva Dvija, Guru, to the Guru, and to superiors, like the father and mother. That's why, throughout the Vedic culture, there is so much respect to the father and mother. So much so that in our ISKCON society, sometimes a young man decides to join the Hare Krishna movement and the father isn't into it. So, and he's got so much respect for his father that I think this is not good for you, and he doesn't join. It happens. Unfortunately, it happens quite a bit, because there's so much respect. Of course, some of them understand that actually Krishna is my real father, so they despite so much difficulty, they surrender to Krishna. So here, Priyavrata, he knows that he has this duty to take over, his father's service, which is managing the universe. And that's understood. But then Narada Muni comes along. It's described that Narada Muni, he's the second acharya in the devotional succession. I guess Lord Brahma would be the first. Yeah. So Narada Muni is a very powerful preacher. Very powerful. And he convinced Priyavrata to, don't entangle yourself. Why do you want to do that? Managing the universe. Oh my God, this is going to be a big distraction. So he convinced him. Now, Svāyambhuva Manu, he wasn't too pleased with this. But he was against Narada Muni. So he had to bring in reinforcements. Lord Brahma. So when Lord Brahma came, I thought, okay, this is getting to be a little bit too much. So he, as we'll find out, he's gonna surrender, and he'll manage the universe. But Lord Brahma is a great authority, and of course the highest authority is Krishna. And Priyavrata, he wants to do the right thing, and he understood it was the right thing to do what his father wanted him to do, but then to do what Narada Muni wanted him to do was even more right. But then Lord Brahma comes, and he's getting an order by Krishna. He's being inspired by Krishna to come in and give him this direction to manage the universe. So it was interesting experience he must have had. And yeah, like Dravida Prabhu said yesterday, Arjuna was a little bit in the same predicament. He didn't want to fight. His relatives, Bhishma, I mean, geez, Bhishma's like, he's the most respected person on the planet practically. Fighting against his grandfather and his teacher, and very, very difficult for him. Therefore it's stated, Karpanya dosho bhata svabhava prichtramitam dharma samudacheta yatstreyas nistitam bruhitam sisyastam saryam tambapanam. Now I'm confused about my duty and I don't know what is right. Now I'm your disciple, a soul surrendered. Please instruct me, guide me. So he was confused. I'm sure Priyavrata, he was very confused also in this turn of events that he was going through. But because he's the great devotee that he is, he surrendered. Now what is the ultimate right that we should all do? Smartavya saratang Vishnu or Vishmartavya jatuchit. That means that we should always think of Krishna. Never forget Krishna. This is the ultimate right. The highest thing that all of us can do is to always think of Krishna, never forget him, and try our best to engage in devotional service. This is the highest right thing that everyone can do. And Krishna, he also gave his order. In the Bhagavad Gita, what was the order of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita? Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah, many orders he gave us. Yeah, Manman, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage unto me, thus you'll come to me. Sarvadhamam parityaja, abandon all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. Yat karoshi yadasnashi, so many instructions. Just work for me. So many instructions. And therefore the Bhagavad Gita is the instruction guide for human society. And that's why Prabhupada wanted this Bhagavad Gita distributed far and wide so that people could know what's the right thing to do. Previously we didn't know what the right thing is. We hadn't a clue. We were doing so many sinful activities, had no idea it was wrong. Then we get this knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, we get so much information guiding us on how to do the right thing. Yeah, so the right thing is to serve Krishna. Why? Because Krishna is the greatest person. He's the greatest personality. Krishna is so great that, as it's stated here in the purport, he can't do anything that's wrong. We can do so many things that's wrong, but Krishna, because he's absolute, he can't do anything that's wrong. Even sometimes he steals, but it's not wrong. He steals butter, steals yogurt from the ladies in Vrindavan, but they relish that. They love it. And besides, I mean, Krishna's creating all the butter. He's creating all the yogurt, so how can he steal anything? He owns everything, so he's not really stealing, but wonderful pastime. Sometimes he tells very honest people to lie. Yudhisthira never told a lie in his life, and now God comes along and says, lie. Someone might say, what kind of God is this? But why? Why? Because Dronacharya, he was fighting so valiantly, he was so powerful. He's practically unconquerable. So powerful. He's the one that taught all the Pandavas and the Kurus, how to fight. Great, great warrior. And he was fighting so powerfully that Krishna said, no one's going to stop him. So we got to come up with a plan. And it was known that he would fight until he heard that his son was dead, Ashwatthama. So Krishna told Yudhishthira, go and tell him his son is dead, although he's not dead. So Yudhishthira hesitated to follow the order of Krishna, and because of that, before that, his chariot wasn't touching the ground. He's a demigod. But as soon as he hesitated in following the order of Krishna, his chariot crashed to the ground. Actually, he had to see hell too, because he disobeyed the order of Krishna. But then he went and he said to Dronacharya, Ashwatthama, the elephant, is dead. Because there was an elephant that had died that was named Ashwatthama. So he still didn't lie. He told the truth. But then he stopped fighting Dronacharya. So it was for a good cause that Krishna spoke to Yudhishthira in such a way. And also sometimes he steals for the pleasure of the gopis. They love it. They love it. And sometimes Krishna, in Vrindavan, he would play his flute, and he would attract beautiful women out to the forest, married women, single women out to the forest, and he would dance with them. And, he's not attached to dancing with these beautiful girls, but this is what they wanted. And they were great devotees of Krishna. So he wanted to please his devotees. So he danced with them for a long time. How long? The day of Brahmā. A long time. And Krishna is known as Vrindavana Natabara. He's the best dancer. There was one philosopher, Nietzsche. He said, when I hear that God dances, I'll believe there's a God. Unfortunately, I don't think you ever got a chance to hear about Krishna. But yeah, so Krishna, he's wonderful. And therefore, the best thing that anyone can do is serve Krishna. And it's interesting that Prabhupada says in this purport, nice little statement here. The more a living entity is purified by devotional service, the more he comes in direct contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is how to come in contact with Krishna. By performing devotional service, we get purified. We get more and more purified. Takes some time, it'll take some time. Because we've been in this material world, trying to enjoy material life for a long time. How long? Practically time immemorial. So now in this one lifetime, we're trying to get our life together. And Krishna is very kind, and he'll help us. Bhakti purusana bhava varakti unyata chaisa tuka eka kala. Papadyamana tushti pushti sunagaina lugasa. That by rendering devotional service to Krishna, three things automatically occur. We attain love for Krishna, eventually. We become detached from material life. And we get direct experience, as it's mentioned here. We get direct experience of Krishna. You get realization of the existence of Krishna. Just like with this one Mataji, Daivi Shakti Mataji, big book distributor. She said, when Krishna gave me realization that he's God, then I was just thinking how to let everybody know. That should be our mood. You get some realization. Krishna's God. Let's let people know. Let's let people know the good news. This is the good news. Krishna's God. We're the servants of God. We serve Krishna, we'll become happy. Everybody wants happiness, but people are looking the wrong direction. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that one whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, whose aim is inward, is understood to be liberated. So the real happiness is within, service to Krishna. Krishna is within, super soul is within. So we have to turn to Krishna and try to please Krishna, and then we'll be satisfied. Actually, this phrase that Krishna has, that Prabhupada came up with, the Krishna consciousness came from this word, Bhakti Parsana Bhava Viraktir. Krishna consciousness. So this Krishna consciousness, to be conscious of Krishna in all circumstances, is the best thing that we can do. And not only is it good for us, but it's good for others. Because if we're Krishna conscious, then we'll help others become Krishna conscious. Just like Prabhupada, he was so Krishna conscious. It was like bubbling over. His Krishna consciousness was like bubbling over. He was only speaking about Krishna, absorbed in thinking and serving Krishna. So therefore it was coming out in a wonderful way. And so many people, they heard him, and it changed their lives. It was life transforming. Just like I tell people when I'm distributing books that I read this book so many times I lost count. And they said, sometimes they would ask, was it life transforming? Oh yeah, that's what I'm here. I'm giving you this knowledge. So transform your life as well in a positive way. So this is a result of hearing the message of Krishna. Our life is transformed in a wonderful way, and we become satisfied. Now, another thing here that Prabhupada mentions in the purport, that he says, Lord Brahma was following the orders of the Supreme Lord, and therefore it would be worthwhile for Priyavrata to accept Lord Brahma's order as the Lord desired. So we always have this choice. We can accept Krishna or we can reject. We have this free will. Itite jnanam akyatam. Krishna told Arjuna that now I've explained to you knowledge which is even more confidential. Now you deliberate on this fully and do as you like. So Krishna gives us this free will. We can accept or we can reject. Now if we accept Krishna, if we accept his orders and engage in devotional service, serve him, then we grow. We grow spiritually. But if we reject, then we go backwards. Now, we've been in the material world going backwards so much. Now we have this grand opportunity to go forward. So we just have to keep on hearing and accepting. With attention, we have to hear with attention. If we hear with attention, we'll become attracted to Krishna. We'll become attracted. And then we'll become attached to Krishna. And then we become absorbed in Krishna. But it begins with that attention. Just like Prabhupada has a nice statement in Bhagavad Gita, one purport. He says, if one hears with attention the Srimad Bhagavatam, one will see Krishna on every page. But to hear with rapt attention, one has to be pure in mind. But to be pure in mind, one has to be pure in action. But to be pure in action, one has to be pure in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But if one is able to hear in this way, then one can see Krishna on every page. Now sometimes there's gurus or sannyasis, and they're preaching, but they're not pure in mind. And if one is not pure in mind, then eventually one becomes impure in action. Yeah. So therefore, was it Haridas Thakur that was told that you preach very nicely, and you act. Yeah. Sadachar means purified activities. Yeah. So to speak nicely and to act nicely, that's rare. To walk the talk. Yeah. And therefore, quite often I tell Hindus when I distribute books, I tell them, there's so many Bhagavad Gitas. There's hundreds. But this Bhagavad Gita convinced thousands of Westerners, Europeans, Americans, and people all over the world to serve Krishna. All these other Bhagavad Gitas, they couldn't do that. So it's like, oh yeah, okay. And I tell them, I have quite often asked them, have you read it cover to cover? They all have it. But have you read it cover to cover? And I tell them, 99% of the Hindus I meet, they haven't read the Bhagavad Gita. And they said, yeah, we haven't read it either. And I tell them, it's just an amazing thing, because I read it, I lost count. The most amazing, wonderful book I've ever read. The first time I read it in 7 days. I couldn't put it down. Why the Hindus don't read? I don't know. So with that, quite often they take the Gita. Oh, because I'm not in. Because they said, yeah, my grandmother Yushi would tell us, Bhagavad Gita, so we know. But sometimes they would say, yeah, it's in our blood, Okay, tell me verse, 26 in chapter 3, So we're so fortunate. Actually, when I first came in contact with the Bhagavad Gita, I went to a library, and there was 4 different Bhagavad Gitas to choose from. The credit goes to the BBT, because they made Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita more attractive than the other 3. God knows where I'd be now if I hadn't chose Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. So, yeah, we have this very valuable knowledge that gives us direction on how to do the right thing. So we should absorb this knowledge and pray to Krishna that we can always do the right thing. Because so many devotees have gotten this knowledge. Even sannyasis and gurus in our society. They've gotten this knowledge and they understood this is the right thing. But Maya is very powerful. They stop doing the right thing and they start doing the wrong thing again. Yeah. There's one bhakti here I heard. He's praying to Krishna every day that he not fall down. That's a good prayer. And Prabhupada actually said, I think I might have mentioned this once before, Prabhupada said, when we rise in the morning, we should pray to Krishna, Krishna, please protect me. Protect me from your illusory energy, this very powerful energy. Yeah. And allow me to engage in devotional service. Yeah. So, Krishna will help us. Krishna will help us. And devotees will help us. So nice to have so many devotees. Devotees are increasing here. It's so nice. I was thinking we have to back up the Vyasasana now because devotees are going off on the sides now. What's that? Oh, it's oh. So it's nice. Devotees are increasing. This is very pleasing to Krishna. So I thought I'd say a couple of Sankirtan stories for the pleasure of Devita. He always likes to hear the stories, and other devotees. There's one devotee named Anakandandubi Das. He was actually a dental technician before he joined, making a lot of money. Had a sports car. He just had it, but he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy. So somebody came in contact with devotees, and he got some books, and he became a huge book distributor. He's probably one of the most famous book distributors in Europe now. A wonderful devotee. So he gave a book. I think he was the one that gave the book to this young man who was the son of very rich parents. And upon reading the books, he was very inspired, and he liked them, and he wants to be a devotee. But he's still living with his parents, and he didn't know where to put the book. He had the Bhagavad Gita, so he thought he'd put it on the top shelf. They had a huge library of books, covered the whole wall. So he put it on the top, thinking they won't see it. And it worked for a while. They didn't see it. But then his mother was dusting the top there, all the shelves, and she got the top. And she got down, and she's walking away, and something hit her on the head. What's that? Bhagavad Gita. And she's thinking, how did that fall off? Because it didn't fall off when she was actually dusting, but it fell off after. Actually, no, it was Krishna book. It was Krishna book. Krishna book. This is in Italy. Okay. She's like, well, it hit me in the head. Maybe I should read it. So she read it, and she liked it so much that she became a devotee. And her husband became a devotee. Everybody became a devotee. She's initiated now. Knock on the head, It's amazing. But they weren't very religious. This is back in the 80s. Yeah, a long time ago. I'm reading this book by Anakanda Nubi now, so he's got these pastimes. There's another one, and this is another devotee named Stanu. Stanu is a wonderful, wonderful devotee. He's in Bulgaria. And he also was very successful. He was managing some company before he joined. He got a book and he liked it. And then he was visiting the temple, and he asked the temple president there, what do you think I should do? He wanted to know, well, what's the right thing to do? Similar to here, He said, well, the best thing you can do is distribute books. So he said, all right. He had faith in the temple president. So he went to his boss and said, I'm very sorry to tell you this, but I'm going to quit. And the boss was hurt. He said, well, I can give you more money if you want. He said, no, I'm on a mission now to help people in their spiritual lives. And this devotee was so dear to this boss. He said, well, if you ever want a job again, you come back here and I'll put you right back in your position. He was so qualified. So he distributed books, and he mentioned to me one time, he said he was on book distribution, and he saw his boss, his old boss. So he said, oh, so you're still doing your missionary activity? Yes. And I have some for you. And he took a big stack of books, and gave a nice donation. So he tells this story, nice story. It was World Enlightenment Day. And he was doing a lot of management. He's a Sankirtan leader, so he was managing things. And he decided to call some friends of Lord Krishna to try to sell some set. So this lady's name was Galya. Let me see, I have it in here. Galya. So he calls up this lady Galya to try to sell her Srimad Bhagavatam set. So she answers the phone and says, yes, this is Galya. And he starts talking about the Srimad Bhagavatam. And she says, excuse me, what is that? You never heard of you've been to the temple so many times. She said, temple? Well, I've never been to any temple. It's a different Galya. Same number, different Galya. So then he figures out that this is another lady. He says, you never been to the Hare Krishna temple? She said, no. And your name is Galya? Yeah. Wow, okay, well, today is World Enlightenment Day, and I was trying to call another Galya who has your number. Don't ask me how that happened, but this knowledge that we're distributing is very valuable. Spiritual wisdom, knowledge of yoga and meditation and higher consciousness and connection with the Supreme. And he's preaching like this, like anything. And she says, well, this sounds great. This is fantastic. I have many families here. I'll take 5 sets. 5 sets. Now this is back when we had how many volumes in one in one? In the Bhagavatam, not the big ones. 30 volumes. So she took 5 sets. So he was like, he couldn't believe it. Yeah, that would be called a cold call. You don't know the person. They don't know anything, and then he just preached. And so then that was 200. She was 200 kilometers away, so he had to drive. He drove all, and she bought all. I don't know how much, but it must have been a lot of money. So this is the glory of book distribution. You never know what's going to happen. Just like yesterday, I was distributing. Tyler was out there with me, and this nice guy. He really wanted the book, but there was a lady there that wasn't interested at all, and she's shouting, and put the book back, and I'm telling you, calm down. And finally, she pulled him away, but before he couldn't give a donation. I said, you're very courageous, and because of that, I'm going to give you this book for free, because you're so courageous. Most men would just run as soon as the wife, or girlfriend starts, demanding like that. But you're grave. I mean, you're courageous. So here's this book for free. So he said, "Oh, thanks a lot." As he walks away. Then he came back. She convinced him, take that book back. So he couldn't take the book. Couldn't believe it. Maybe. Actually, I met a guy on book distribution. I was trying to distribute a book to him. He said, no, if I read that book, I'm going to become a celibate monk. But I want to get married. And I said, no, you don't have to worry. Most people get married. Yeah. And he said, but are you a monk? Yeah, I'm a monk. I said, I don't want to take a chance. I might read that book and decide to become a monk like you and just, give my life to God, but I don't know. This stuff is powerful. He wouldn't take the book. He was afraid of surrendering. Actually, this is one of the reasons the Hindus don't read the Bhagavad Gita also, because Krishna, he demands surrender. Give up your material life, give up all your sense gratitude, give up all your nonsense, and give your life to me. I think that's the main reason. And that's why most of them, they worship the demigods to get some material enjoyment. So, any question or comment? Yes, Javida Prabhu.
Thank you for the very inspiring class. I was going to leave at 8:35, but I couldn't leave. The verse that inspired the phrase Krishna consciousness, is that you?
Yeah.
There may be another line going to the verse Bhakti Pradeshana, but I always understood, and I've heard, it was the verse by Ramananda Roy. Bhakti, boy, my brain doesn't work. The one where he said, Laulyam, api mulyam ekalam.
Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavidamati.
That first line.
Kriyatam Yarikotopi Labhite.
Yeah.
Oh.
That first line.
So
yeah. Now, Prabhupada may have said that also. I've never heard that before. But this one I heard and read and heard him say.
Maybe both of them. I don't know. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavidamati. Oh, you've heard that also. So that might be the one. Okay, thank you.
Otherwise, that was the only thing that was slightly off about the class. Other than perfect.
I was also, when I was thinking, is this the right version? Yeah. So yeah, Krishna. So you know the verse. Let's hear the verse. You can chant the verse for everybody.
Krishna, the Bhakti Pareshana.
Krishna Bhakti Rasa.
Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati Kriyatam Jadikutopi Labhyate tatta laulyam api mulyam ekalam janma koti sukatayana labhyate. So Krishna Bhakti Bhavatamati means the mind absorbed in Krishna Bhakti Rasa, which is Krishna consciousness. If you can buy it somewhere, you should buy it. Find it and buy it. But you have to have the price. Tattva laulyam api mulyam. Mulyam means price. The only price is your ardent desire for it. Laulyam, greed. You will not get either the greed or the Krishna Bhakti Rasa by millions of births of pious activity.
Thank you. Anything else?
So in the translation, it says like, do not be jealous of the Supreme Lord, who is beyond our experimental measurements. So, I mean, in the purport we hear like, don't be envious of me, Brahma, like, trust me, I'm not your enemy. But here in the translation, it's a bit confusing. Like,
don't be envious of Krishna.
Yeah.
Well, we come in this world because of envious of Krishna. So if he wanted to disobey the order of Krishna and do what he wanted to do, that would be a sign of envy, that he knows better. Krishna knows best. There used to be a show. Remember, there used to be that show, Father Knows Best. So Krishna is the Supreme Father. He knows what is best. So yeah, it's a kind of arrogance to no, I know, I'm going to do what I think is best. Kind of envious a little. So, okay. Yeah.
The whole dynamic of what we're witnessing now is that Brahma is coming down, and then everybody says, "Oh, he's carrying the order of Krishna." In other words, he's the authority. He's giving it purely.
Yeah.
So even though what Narada preaches is fine, this is transcending that, because this is coming directly from Krishna.
Yeah.
In other words, it parallels. It's interesting. It parallels what happened with Daksha and his sons, right? In other words, Daksha wanted his sons to do material thing. Narada preached to them. They went off. It was the right thing to do. There was no problem. He was directly carrying the order of Krishna. But in this particular case, Brahma is superior to Narada. And so the whole thing is resolved in that you won't give up your Krishna consciousness. In other words, you'll be able to do that, and you're more...
He was reassured that you'll still keep your Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Okay, anything else? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada, Ki? Yeah.